For more on all news Rangers and all news NHL, we welcome in our NHL Network Insider, Elliotte Friedman, right now. Elliotte, the news coming out earlier today, Tony DeAngelo, he clears waivers. Now he's put on the taxi squad. What do you think is the next step for him and for New York?
Well, Jeff Gorton, the general manager of the New York Rangers, met with the media about an hour ago, and he made it clear that DeAngelo has played his final game for the Rangers. And he provided a bit more context into what the situation was. In the first game of the season this year, DeAngelo took an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, and the Rangers made him a scratch for Game 2. And according to Gorton, DeAngelo didn't handle that very well. At some point, he went to him and said, look, if there's one more issue or anything, we're going to waive you and we're going to let you go. And then obviously there was the incident Saturday night after the game where after the Rangers had lost in overtime to Pittsburgh, DeAngelo walked by and said something to Georgiev, goaltender for the Rangers that night. Georgiev went up and went at him, and the teammates had to separate them. And then later on that night, the Rangers called DeAngelo or his agent and just told him that that was the one more act and you're going on waivers. So he's on the taxi squad now. I don't think they're going to be able to terminate his contract. Now, Gorton did say tonight that's not what they're looking at doing, but I don't think they're going to be able to do it. So, if they can't find somewhere else for him to play or anyone else isn't willing to take him to play, he might just end up kind of waiting for the end of the season. So we'll see where this goes. But right now, New York is trying to find anyone else who would be interested in trying out DeAngelo for the rest of the season.
What's your gut tell you as far as the appetite for a guy like Tony DeAngelo? We know what he can do on the ice, but maybe comes with a lot of baggage when it comes to what comes off of it.
Well, I think that's going to be one thing. There's no question that anybody who acquires him is going to take heat from fans. They're going to have to say that this is why we're doing it and this is why we're making our decision. John Davidson said tonight that DeAngelo's social media work was not what led to this decision, but there's no question that he likes to do things on there that provoke other people and make other people very upset, especially in these times. And a lot of teams are very careful about that. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a challenge. The thing about DeAngelo I didn't realize until yesterday is he doesn't turn 26 until October. So his salary for next year could be bought out at 1/3 instead of 2/3. So I wonder if that's what happens. He waits to the end of the year. The Rangers buy him out for 1/3, and then someone tries to talk to him and see, okay, do we start again fresh next season? I think there is concern from some teams, even the ones who value him as a player. Do you bring him in the middle of this year, which is already challenging enough already for everyone because of what we're going through with COVID? I'm not so sure some teams are going to want to do that.
All right, stand by and wait while the Rangers try and find a suitor for Tony DeAngelo. Meanwhile, the Penguins, they're searching for a new GM. They have a vacancy there. Any updates on how the search is going?
I think it's really going to get going in earnest this week. I think the Penguins have kind of sat around and kind of figured out what their long list is, and they'll work at cutting their long list down to a shorter list. Now, I submitted some names there. Chris Drury, there have been some reports say that he's not going to want to interview, or the Rangers aren't going to want to interview. Until I know that for sure, I'm putting him on this list because if he does interview, I think he's got a real shot. John Ferguson, Mike Futa, Mike Gillis, Lawrence Gilman, Ron Hextall, Kevin Weeks, who, Jameson, you can ask him the next time you see him. I think he's going to be interviewed. There's two names there that I think are a bit new. Jason Karmanos, who was actually fired as the assistant GM in the summer. I think he could come back here and have a conversation with them about it. And I've put in Joe Nieuwendyke's name. I don't know if Nieuwendyke will want to do it, but I've heard in the last 24 hours that he's somebody who could be on the Penguins' radar, maybe even just to get them through this year. So we'll see where that goes, but someone said to me, don't be surprised if Nieuwendyke's name comes up in the middle of all this.
Interesting. A name that's been coming up of late out in Calgary, Sam Bennett. We heard he wants out. Then we're hearing that's kind of been backpedaled, and his agent said, no, he doesn't want out. What is the latest on Sam Bennett and staying put in Calgary?
Well, I think Sam Bennett does want out. At least I called his agent on Saturday morning to check the rumors. And the agent said, yes, he does want out. So I would like to say to all the viewers on the NHL Network, I am not a total idiot. I did make sure I had this on the record before I went with it. The Flames were upset. And I think any team would be upset whenever a player comes out with a trade demand. It gets public. They prefer this stuff be private. They have alleged that they were not told definitively. I think Sam Bennett in his time in Calgary, there have been moments where he's been disappointed with his role, and there's been other moments where he's been fine. And the Flames do see Sam Bennett as the kind of guy you need in the playoffs to win. And I think they do value that. He's played well for them when he's been with them in the postseason. I think the thing the Flames are saying is, can we fix this? He's disappointed with his role. He's a fourth-line center behind Lindholm, Monahan, and Backlund. That's 3 good centers ahead of him. He didn't initially want to play wing. Now they might talk to him about playing wing. I don't think the Flames want to trade Sam Bennett. I think they prefer to keep him. But, I think the other thing that the Flames are going to send a message here is that we have to dictate what moves we want to make. They don't want the agent to dictate it to him. Agent has to stand up for his client. We'll see where it goes. I mean, the other issue here, Jameson, and we're seeing it right now in Winnipeg, they've had to wait 9 days now for Dubois, and they might have to wait another 5. If you're a Canadian team and you make a trade for a player that has to come into Canada, those 14 days you've got to wait right now for the player to be active, it's chilling for some of these teams. Don't mistake that.
All right, Elliotte Friedman with the latest all things NHL. Elliotte, appreciate the insight as always. Stay safe. We'll talk to you down the road.
All right, Jameson, say hi to your coworkers for me there, Ryan and Scotty, and tell them both, please don't take my job.
All right, I'll do just that. Ryan, don't take his job. Marcy, don't take his job.